see how we can protect our patients. So androgen receptors, we know, that are present in muscle, adipose tissue, liver, bone, central nervous system, reproductive system. Now we have woken up to the fact that androgen receptors are also present in the lungs. So surprisingly, they are being the receptor of target in the COVID-19 infections. We also know that androgen deficiency can lead to reduced lean body mass, increased fat mass, adiposity, insulin resistance, metabolic syndrome, reduced bone mineral density, anemia, non-alcoholic fatty liver, elevated liver enzymes, sexual dysfunction, reduced quality of life, increased mortality, so many things. So the androgens we are dealing with in our profession are capable of a lot more things than what we can imagine about. So Andy Goren, along with McCoy, Wambier, and proud to say Dr. Rachita Dhurat, head of the Department of Dermatology from Sion Medical College, have come out with this paper giving us the similarities between androgen receptors and the COVID-19 infection. The paper was published in Dermatological Therapeutics. Also, Webinar and Andy Goren published another paper in the Journal of American Academy of Dermatology, both on the same topic. And Dr. Andy Goren is a visiting professor at the Department of Dermatology in Sion as well. These two papers were based on the information or the characteristics of the corona disease revealed by a study by Guan Ni Hu Liang from China. So once they got the characteristics of the infection is when they have come out with the paper. What are the characteristics? This study of the coronavirus published from China shows that there is pairing of pre-pubescent children. The rate of infection of coronavirus in pre-pubescent children is extremely low, is like 0.6%, very, very low. The androgen receptor expression is low in children before puberty, and this may contribute to the low incidence, which we can easily understand. It's also seen that there is low rate of severe cases among adult females as compared to adult males. That reminds me of the study by Savaya and Price, where they have studied the levels of 5-alpha reductase type 1, type 2, aromatase, androgen receptors in hair follicles of men and women, and shown that men have a higher density of the receptors and higher levels of these enzymes, which are more active in men as compared to women. So there is a gender bias or dysmorphism. Another study which I was reminded of is the study of McCrohon in 2000, where they have studied the androgen receptor expression in macrophages in male and female, and found that the expression in male is higher, and there is a difference in the density of androgenetic receptors in the macrophages circulating in the blood, and they had said this was having implications for atherogenesis. There is also a sexual dimorphism seen in newborn babies who suffer respiratory distress syndrome. This is because of production of the lung surfactant. The lung surfactant production is affecting more number of male babies. Also found that these male babies, if you try to treat them with prenatal prednisolone or steroids, their resistance to correction with steroids, the incidence is lesser in female babies. They are more easily acceptable to correction. The sexual dimorphism can be countered by flutamide, anti-androgen, in experimental animals, and it can be precipitated by DHT, and by feminization of the testes. So the pulmonary surfactant has an important role in viral infections, especially the influenza virus. The androgen receptor in lungs. Mekonnen studied androgen receptor and androgen dependent gene expression in lungs in 2010. With respect to the family of coronavirus, the severe acute respiratory distress or the syndrome SARS virus or the Middle Eastern respiratory syndrome virus, MERS virus, they all belong to corona family. They preferentially infect type 2 pneumocytes in the human lung, as confirmed by immunohistochemical studies. And for doing this, what they do is they have to bind to the surface of the host cells. There is a spike protein on the surface of the coronavirus, and this spike protein is activated by transmembrane protease serine 2 from the host. So this transmembrane protease serine 2 is in short called as the TMPRSS2. This is taken from the host to activate the spike on the surface of the virus. Then the virus binds to a receptor, the androgen receptor on the cell, and manages to enter the cell. So why do we surely say that this binds to the androgen receptor? Because the TMPRSS2 is a gene expression promoter of androgen receptors and is the only promoter in humans. So there is no other androgen receptor promoter. Hence, this is sure from the studies that it is entering by binding to the androgen receptor and getting activated by TMPRSS2. Now, Cui in 2020 has presented another study where the virus can also use the angiotensin converting enzyme type 2. So this also has been declared as a receptor for the coronavirus. So angiotensin 2 receptor is also a mode. Again, a study on genetic polymorphism has come to a conclusion that male vulnerability may be further enhanced by X-linked inheritance of genetic polymorphism of androgen receptors. And the ACE2 gene loci is also on the same arm of the X-linked chromosome. So this is one more reason why you would see higher incidence in males and higher utilization of the androgen receptor in COVID-19 coronavirus infection. Another method of this virus activating is through the heparin sulfate proteoglycans. This changes again the surface of the virus and allows it to attach to the target cells. So the HSPG or heparin sulfate proteoglycans are one more method by which the virus can directly attach to the cells. This method does not use the androgen receptor or the ACE2 receptors. So what caution do we have from this? We commonly see hyperactive androgens presenting in our professional practice from polymorphism or from any other reason. Commonly, we see androgenetic alopecia, dense facial hair or body hair, chest hair, acne, oily skin, PCOS, hirsutism. These patients are theoretically going to be at a higher risk. They have a higher risk of hyperandrogenic phenotype, which might correlate to COVID-19 increased viral load, increased viral dissemination, and severity of lung involvement. Also, analyzing the ethnic variation in androgen receptor expression may predict the COVID-19 ethnic mortality differences. We are seeing ethnic differences in the mortality. So expression of the androgen receptor might be responsible for these ethnic differences. Lot of androgen receptor antagonists, androgen synthesis inhibitors, anti-gonadotrophins are being studied as potential drugs. 5-alpha reductase inhibitors like finasteride have also been considered. From clinical experience and scientific studies, we know the dosage studies for finasteride have compared a dose of 0.2 milligrams, 0.5 milligrams, 1 milligram and 5 milligrams. So the dose starting from 0.2 to 0.5 to 1 milligram and then 5 milligrams. When these were compared in the lab, 0.2 milligram of finasteride could achieve 48 to 50% DHT blockade. 0.2 milligrams. This dose increased to 0.5 could achieve 50 to 52% DHT blockade. Increasing the dose from 0.5 to 1 achieved around 55 to 58% DHT blockade, close to 60%. And increasing the dose to 5 milligram per day gave only 60 to 62% DHT blockade. So these 5-alpha reductase inhibitors are not able to completely block the DHT. The maximum they can achieve is 50 to 60%. And we are not sure whether these 5-alpha reductase inhibitors are capable of reaching required blood levels in the lungs or whether they would be able to act in the lung tissue. Our studies are only in the scalp and hair follicles. So US Center of Disease Control and Prevention recommended avoiding corticosteroids during COVID-19 epidemic. Some corticosteroids also bind to the androgen receptors. It is important to avoid androgen hormones during the pandemic. Bodybuilding supplements, anabolic steroids, whey isolate may be preferred 2 or 3 times a week rather than taking the whey bodybuilding protein complex. Particularly police officers, health workers who are exposed to risk. Women who are using progesterone-based birth control pills that increase androgenic activity. And if these pills are giving them acne and hair loss or increased facial hair, they might consider changing it to progesterones, changing the contraceptive pills, changing the progesterones and having other combinations. Now we have had an approach of using antioxidants, detox, immune boosters, and building up the cell function and building up the immunity of the cells to achieve good results in hair loss management. Let's see how this would be a possible way to help our COVID-19 patients. So nutrients, role of nutrients in immunity, we have already seen several times that nutritional deficiency causes impairment of T cell mediated immunity, phagocytic function, complement system, secretory immunoglobulins, adaptive antibody response, antibody concentrations and cytokine production all are affected by our nutritional deficiencies. Also, studies show that antioxidants, trace elements, vitamins A, C, D, E, B6, B12, folic acid, selenium, copper, iron, zinc, counteract the damage done by ROS and modulate the immune cell function through regulation of the redox sensitive transcription factors, cytokines and prostaglandins. Vitamin A deficiency impairs both the innate immunity, that is the mucosal or epithelial regeneration or that level, and the adaptive immunity which comes from for the extracellular pathogens. Vitamin D deficiency causes higher susceptibility to infections due to impaired localized innate immunity and defects in antigen specific cellular immune response. Selected vitamins and trace elements always support immune function by strengthening the epithelial barriers, the cellular and humoral immune response. But we have a specific role in increasing immunity for colostrum and lactoferrin. Now let's see how colostrum and lactoferrin can help us. Uruakpa in 2002, Magarth in 2016, and Ulfam in 2018 studied in detail the properties and composition of colostrum. They found that bovine immunoglobulins have effects on immune function, allergy, and infection. Immune boosting properties in colostrum are contributed to the presence of magnesium, vitamin B complex, vitamins A, C, E, growth factors, insulin-like growth factor 1, insulin-like growth factor 2, the immunoglobulins IgA, IgG, and IgM. These provide ready-to-use passive immunity from colostrum. Otherwise, your body needs to secrete the immunoglobulins in response to the antigens and create antibodies. The antibodies that fight infection are made only of immunoglobulins. So these immunoglobulins are provided ready-made when you use a colostrum supplement. But does colostrum have any antiviral activity? Study by Palmer in 1980 has reported antiviral activity of colostrum due to serum immunoglobulin A and G. Study by Maria, again prevention of influenza virus episodes with colostrum as compared to vaccination or the flu shots that are commonly used in such an outbreak. Nang Wong in 2010 have again studied prevention and treatment of influenza with hyperimmune bovine colostrum. So bovine colostrum is a source of IgG and can be used to transfer polyclonal antibodies to the respiratory tract. This has been reported by the study in 2010. Lactoferrin. Yamauchi in 2006 and Akhtar JK in 2009 have studied lactoferrin as an immune modulator and its benefits as antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal agent. Lactoferrin is a glycoprotein and is a part of our inbuilt or innate immunity that we receive by birth. It is the first line of defense in all mammals, secreted in milk and mucus secretions. So this is the glycoprotein we get as an ability to fight infection by birth. Development of beneficial intestinal flora or the gut microbiome and optimization of the immune system are primary functions of lactoferrin. So lactoferrin modulates immune and inflammatory response. It exerts protective effect via regulation of enzyme activity, reducing reactive oxygen species, immune deviation and prevention of cell apoptosis, restoring homeostasis, attenuates inflammatory response and limits the pathological damage and spread of pathogens. These are the conclusions done by various people who have studied lactoferrin as an immune modulator. There is research and experience available of the effects of lactoferrin on previous SARS coronavirus infections. Lang in 2011 has published inhibition of SARS pseudovirus and cell entry by lactoferrin. So the method of entering the cell for the coronavirus by binding to heparan sulfate proteoglycans is what is inhibited by lactoferrin. So lactoferrin plays a protective role against the SARS-CoV infection by binding and co-localizing the heparan sulfate proteoglycans and blocking the preliminary interaction that allows attachment of the coronavirus to the host cells. The same also been studied and confirmed. Lactoferrin participates in host immune response against severe acute respiratory syndrome and coronavirus, also by enhancing the natural killer NK cell activity and stimulating neutrophil aggregation. So it causes good aggregation of neutrophils to fight this virus infection. Zuccotti reports an additional effect of combining lactoferrin and curcumin. So we have a formulation where we are using colostrum, lactoferrin, curcumin as a kit for boosting immunity, and this was done much before the SARS was known or the corona epidemic started, because we have an approach that building wellness and building immunity will result in hair growth. So we find something to support this thinking. Lactoferrin and curcumin together achieve immune modulation of CD8 plus T lymphocytes, lymphocyte maturation, cytokine response, and reduce the rate of respiratory tract infections. This is the conclusion of the combined lactoferrin curcumin study. Now we have heard that it is the BCG vaccination status probably that is giving us some background to fight the coronavirus infection. Lactoferrin improves the response of BCG vaccine. So Huang in 2007 reported lactoferrin enhanced efficiency of BCG vaccine to generate host protective responses. This was studied against challenge with virulent pathogens. Krusell in 2017 again studied context of inflammation-induced pathology and lactoferrin. Drago studied balancing the ups and downs of inflammation with the help of lactoferrin. And the conclusion of all these studies in 2007 and 2017 is that lactoferrin works synergistically with BCG vaccine, resulting in reduction of lung pathology and down regulation of pro-inflammatory mediators, the TNF alpha and interleukin 1 beta. One of the reasons why we lose patients in coronavirus infection is the cytokine storm or sudden release of inflammatory mediators, which seems to be helped by both colostrum and lactoferrin. Lactoferrin again enhances specific T cell Th1 response determined by increased INF gamma production. It modulates macrophages and dendritic cells, displaying an ability to present antigens and stimulate T cell immunity in a better way. Immunomodulatory properties of lactoferrin reduce the immune-related tissue pathology. Lactoferrin is also studied as a glycoprotein involved in iron and inflammatory homeostasis. One of the ways coronavirus is acting is by attacking the hemoglobin. It dissociates the oxyhemoglobin into the heme component, and the globin and oxygen separate. So the oxygen carrying capacity of the blood is hampered. Patients present you with hypoxia before having respiratory distress. That is the unusual paradoxical finding in coronavirus infection. Now, this is the only virus which also breaks down carboxyhemoglobin. So it attacks both oxyhemoglobin and carboxyhemoglobin, also separates the heme portion to iron and porphyrin. The high circulating levels of iron are causing severe inflammation and mortality. Lactoferrin is an iron binding protein. It selectively binds iron, depriving microorganisms and pathogens of essential iron required for their growth and replication. This is one of the mechanisms by which lactoferrin works. So it could be an hypothesis that this could help us in fighting the iron overload created by coronavirus as well. So this is a small schematic diagram showing you the chromosome. On one side, the chromosome activates the androgen receptor by action of testosterone DHT. The activated receptor, then the virus has to use the TMPRSS2 gene to promote transcription, bind to it, and enter the cell. The second way by which what is limited or is blocked by lactoferrin is priming of the spikes of the virus, where it binds to heparan sulfate proteoglycans, and lactoferrin prevents attachment of the virus to the cells. The upper side, if you go, is the second mechanism, where the X-linked polymorphism of androgen receptor and the angiotensin converting enzyme ACE2 receptor allow the cell for the virus to combine on the cell and enter the cell. Chloroquine causes glycosylation of the ACE2 receptor and blocks this method of function or this method of entry of the virus. So we can use a good immune boosting approach. How much of chloroquine gives side effects is not clear. How long you'll have to use is again not clear. But we can use vitamins, minerals, antioxidants that give you wellness, good health, along with colostrum, lactoferrin, curcumin, and these agents in our clients will build up their immunity, will reduce inflammation, will give them overall wellness, and make sure that they receive adequate protection from the present coronavirus pandemic. So I would suggest all of our professional friends who are using the kits to switch over to immune booster kits. There are 3 variations in these kits: immune booster 1, 2, and 3, pro immune 1, 2, and 3. And this can help us in protecting our patients from the corona pandemic. So I would now close my presentation. I'll go off screen, and if there are some questions, we can take questions now. So commonly asked questions are about why not use dutasteride and finasteride in higher doses. The dose dependent benefit of dutasteride, finasteride are not known, and we don't know what is the benefit and what are the lung levels to be achieved. So we are relying on more positive methods. The pro-immune kits mainly contain lactoferrin, colostrum, curcumin in practically all the kits. The variation is in the antioxidants and minerals used along with this. Lactoferrin, colostrum is the basic content of all the kits. You can source lactoferrin and colostrum from any other manufacturer if you are out of India and our kits are not available for you yet in other states or other countries. So lactoferrin and colostrum can be used from available vitamin shoppies or Walgreen. So we have several studies showing that bovine lactoferrin binds to DP cells, induces expression of Wnt, beta-catenin, where this is the effect only restricted to the hair follicle, but it also reduces levels of immune mediators and cytokines, interleukins in the blood, and helps you in overall improving and building up your immunity. Curcumin also can be used. The curcumin is combined in, I think, kit 1 and 2. There is one kit we have which is without curcumin, if I'm not mistaken. Or I think lactoferrin, colostrum, and curcumin are part of all the 3 kits. Only the adjacent vitamin, minerals, iron, calcium, and antioxidants is what varies. Curcumin is an excellent antioxidant, is again a very good immune booster. And the curcumin is combined with N-acetylcysteine, which makes it all the more effective, and paparin, which increases the duration and the plasma levels of curcumin. Out of the 3 proimmune kits which you have, you can select any one. All 3 work the same. It is that we need to engage the patient for a longer time. So we don't want to keep on giving the same kits repeatedly. So we just ask the patient to rotate and say you will get benefit of all 3 kits, is to make the patient interaction easier. All 3 kits are balanced. They are equally effective. You can select any one out of it that you want. Topical dutasteride or finasteride along with minoxidil in hair patients definitely is effective, is a good way of treating androgenetic alopecia, where you don't have to use oral finasteride or dutasteride and be worried about the side effects. We have been standardizing a very good 0.25% finasteride gel along with arachidonic acid, caffeine, and 2% ketoconazole. Soon we would get the standardization approvals in place and make this gel available, which will be an excellent choice for all your androgenetic alopecia, men as well as women. It can be used in both. There are studies showing that hardly nano levels of the drug are seen in circulation, but locally on the scalp, single application gives you 20% improvement, and within a week, you get nearly 58 to 60% reduction of DHT levels. Whereas compared with oral dose of finasteride, you will get nearly 48 to 50% reduction in the first dose. And by the end of 7 days, if you compare the 58 to 60% reduction with topical application, the same 57 to 60% reduction is achieved with oral finasteride dosage continuously 1 milligram for 1 week as well. So the benefit in the scalp compares with both without the blood levels going high in the blood and without any fear of side effects. So it's a good choice to use topical. Any other question or other slides of the proimmune kits? So lactoferrin regulates the immune system and deprives pathogens of iron, restricting their spread or multiplication. Acts as innate immunity, antibacterial, antiviral, and anti-allergic, and helps restore cell function. This has been our aim in designing all the kits, that you improve the cellular function, you make the cell strong to stand against the causes instead of individually trying to chase the causes. We have never created any cause-based treatment. We have always created a treatment that improves the strength of the cells, the immunity of the cells, and makes them capable of withstanding any cause. We are in serious negotiations of getting this available in US very soon, though Amit would be able to highlight you a bit on that. We will post it in the group as to how quickly we can do. Taking only milk doesn't give you adequate levels of lactoferrin or colostrum. Colostrum, as you know, is the first milk that the baby has from the mother. So we use bovine colostrum, which is very high in the ingredients, and lactoferrin is extracted as an active ingredient from the milk. So just drinking milk will not give you adequate levels of either the benefits of colostrum or adequate levels of lactoferrin. This has to be taken as a supplement. So bovine colostrum has immune boosting effects due to the high concentration of magnesium, B complex vitamins, vitamins A, C, E, growth factors, IGF-1, IGF-2, and immunoglobulins, IgA, IgG, IgM. This provides immediate immunity or ready-made immunity for your body to use as the line of defense without waiting for being exposed to antigens and creating the immunoglobulins in your body. This gives you ready-made immunoglobulins that can be used immediately. Later on, this buys time for your body to create their own immunoglobulins and then fight the infection on their own terms. Natural source of immune boosters apart from the kit. The kits themselves are natural. They contain only vitamins, minerals. Instead of that, the problem is if you want to take iron only by eating spinach, you will have to eat around 7 or 10 kgs of spinach every day. The problem is 30% loss of nutrition in the spinach you are eating because of loss of nutrition in the soil. So what we are trying to do is we are extracting that for you and giving it to you in a capsule. And you will get endocrine disruptors, chemicals, pesticides, fertilizers. I don't know what all is going into our bodies along with the food we eat. So depending on food nowadays is not a reliable choice. We are unable to do it. 30 years back when I started practice, I had only a diet chart given to the patients which used to grow back hair. Gradually, when I required to give the vitamins also, we have developed a program in which we give the vitamin only 2 times a week. We don't give you iron 7 days a week. We give it only twice a week and still achieve results. Because the iron needs other friends, other nutrients to act. It's a teamwork. So along with iron, we give calcium, we give antioxidants, we give zinc, we give selenium. We are not leaving any stone unturned because the iron never works alone. It will work only if there is a proper level of micronutrients in the body. So you require a wholesome approach, which unfortunately nowadays we are unable to achieve from food is bad times. So maybe this was not the situation 50 years back, but right now the situation is such that we cannot complete our body requirements without using supplements. As a sad story. So instead of indiscriminately taking high doses of supplements, which neither get absorbed nor they will work and will only cause overdose and overstraining of the system, it's good to take a synergistic calculated dose of the supplements, which give you proper benefit in minimum dose and act synergistically. So that is why we have created the program. We don't want people to haphazardly keep on popping pills. Today, we are in an era of overuse and abuse of vitamins and supplements. People are just taking it right, left, and center without understanding anything. Just as you have got inter-drug interactions with antibiotics and drugs, there are inter-nutrient interactions. We cannot just keep on taking them at our free will. It is not that little bit vitamin is good, so excess is better. Excess vitamins cause serious problems. Also, studies done all over the world where excess or mega dose vitamins were recommended for protection of the cardiovascular system and of the skeletal system have shown that this is not true. Mega doses don't work better. But low dose calculated use of vitamins with proper approach with synergistic combinations will help. Yeah, calcium and iron, you should avoid taking them together because they chelate each other, reduce each other's efficiency up to 40%. But the calcium won't work unless you have got zinc, magnesium, vitamin D. The iron won't work unless you have got vitamin A, vitamin C, selenium, magnesium to help it work. So pumping the body only with iron or only with calcium, even on different days, does not serve the purpose. You have to find out a way of balancing the nutritional supplements and taking them a little bit every day in a proper low dose regime. So we have worked hard to create this regime, and this is what we offer you in our various kits. So you have a ready-made standard to use it. Supply chain of bovine colostrum, there are very high price dealers. The best comes from Australia. The lactoferrin from Australia, nobody in the world can beat their efficiency and their concentration. So in fact, our kits have a stamp that they are using lactoferrin from Australia. So a lot of dealers in bovine colostrum. Not packaging, it is converted with a proper license into a capsule that not only contains pure colostrum or pure lactoferrin, it contains the micronutrients required for the function of lactoferrin. So we make sure when you are using it, it has got its entire team and the backups office support to make sure that it works. Unless there is a planned micronutrient level in the body, no nutrient can work alone. They don't work single. They require a support of all the other nutrients to be effective. Another common question people want to know is how long to take the supplements. Now, I won't be able to describe the packaging and the procuring process as such, but overall in general, it looks true that you import the colostrum and then you process it in a WHO approved and GMP practice approved plant where the manufacturing of the capsules is done. You don't buy it like tyrosine powder and give 2 spoons of colostrum to everybody. It doesn't work like that. I know a lot of trichologists are just buying tyrosine powder and giving it to their clients. So another question people ask is how long to give the supplements. So this is like wellness. It is like going to the gym or exercising for your own fitness. How long you want to do is up to you. But usually we recommend for at least 8 to 10 months. After that, you can taper it. If you just stop it, there is no harm because these are not drugs. They don't change anything in your body. You're not going to like become hypoglycemic and fall, or it's not like missing your diabetes pill or your blood pressure pill. But if you keep on taking them, it keeps on delivering you wellness. And if you don't take these in the program, you will take some haphazard other vitamins which serve you no good. So why not hang on to a program that is surely going to serve you good? So any more questions? Otherwise we can call it a day. Detoxification is not the function of colostrum lactoferrin. Curcumin can help to some extent in detoxification, and other antioxidants which neutralize the reactive oxygen species can help more in the detox function. The function of lactoferrin colostrum is primarily antioxidant and building up the immunity. Lactoferrin helps a lot in iron metabolism and regulation of iron levels. Colostrum is the source of immunoglobulins and vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, immunoglobulins. If patients want to use protein in the gym 2 or 3 times in a week on the day that they are doing weight training, they can take it within 20 minutes of finishing their training. They should not take it every day. That becomes too much. They don't need it every day. And use whey protein isolate rather than using a bodybuilding complex. The bodybuilding complex has got undeclared content of anabolic steroids and other things that are not very welcome as far as your health is concerned. So pure whey isolate 2 or 3 times a week should be good.
स्कोप तो वो 1% ही रहेंगे, जो हमें सिर्फ वो प्रोटोकॉल।
See, there is two kinds of bodybuilding. One is you're exercising only for fitness because you want to remain fit. And the other is you're exercising for exhibition bodybuilding or competition bodybuilding. This excess doses of protein and supplements and all that is required if you're going in a competition or for exhibition bodybuilding. So if you're not going into exhibition or competition bodybuilding, then just using a balanced diet with proper intake of food and protein supplement 2 or 3 times a week is enough. Then you don't have to overdo it. Otherwise, you are creating more of urea nitrogenous waste in your body. You're overworking your liver and kidneys. So as far as routine gymming or fitness is concerned, you don't need the extra doses. You will need it only if you're going for competition bodybuilding or exhibition bodybuilding. And that time also you should try to take it only 2-3 times a week. Don't take it every day. Toning you can do even with yoga. You don't even need to pump up the muscles for toning. Just stretching your body adequately can give you very beautiful muscle tone and extremely fantastic posture and enviable body tone. You don't require additional supplements for that, because you don't want to overwork your detox system. You don't want to overwork your liver kidney to process supplements or intake, which is way beyond what you need. So be careful. Even if you're doing that, you can take it twice or thrice a week when you're doing your heavy weights. You always exercise in a circuit. You don't exercise or do heavy weights every day. One day you do cardio, one day you do upper body, one day you do lower body, one day you do flexibility or stretching, one day you do weights. That is how you will achieve the best. If you do weights every day or exercise your entire body every day, you might end up breaking down the muscles instead of building them. So always rotate your exercise. That is what I would advise. And take your protein supplements only 2 or 3 times, maximum 2 or 3 times a week. That much is adequate. We don't want to overdose anything. Little bit protein is good doesn't mean excess is better. It's a misunderstanding. We think that the supplements, vitamins are knave and they cannot do any harm to you. You can take them as much as you like. Taking more just does more good. We isolate, we don't have a favorite brand. Yeah, there are cases where excess consumption of supplements has led to side effects. And it is recognized that a lot of people reporting to the emergency department are just because of overdose and abuse of vitamins and supplements. People are awakening to this. There is an era coming up where they want to make sure and they believe that this needs to be regulated. Okay, thank you everyone.
Thank you, Rajesh.
Thanks. Any more questions you have, you can post on the group. We'll try to reply each of them. Thank you so much, all of you.